Welcome to the latest dope episode of the HipPodHedz podcast. A podcast where no sage and no vac discuss their hip-hop inspired moments. Pull up a chair, grab a beverage, fill up your cup and get comfortable.
I'm Hayes, host creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And listen, I love what Known Sage does. Y'all make sure y'all go and check out his hip hop podcast as well, which is HipPodHedz. You guys make sure you guys check him out on that.
An hour if then I
So yeah, man. Thank you.
I like that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
For sure, though, baby. Like, this is obviously another episode of HipPodHedz. Novak and I discuss our favorite hip hop moments in episode 60 right here. So look, been wanting to get this guest on our show for a hot minute. He's been collabing with Doc Watson, who we had on the show before. And to be frank, my man, like you royalty, bro. Like Ronesh, like thanks for joining us on the show. Like you have a lot of collabs with a lot of guys that are, movers and shakers in the music scene, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me out here.
Thank you for coming on.
Yes, sir.
Lesson. I know you're a producer and you're MC originally from the Chicago area, but definitely want to talk about your new album, Lead the Orchestra.
Yeah.
Built Records, but definitely want to chop it up over a lot of things because this just occurred to me. I know you and Doc Watson used to mess around. If I'm trying to remember the story right, like in the band, right? And I thought you both had different instruments, right, or something like that.
Well, I mean, we never were in a band together, but we both actually were saxophone players. He took it a lot further than I did. I played in middle school, and I. In my high school schedule, I think I didn't have time for a band class or something like that, or I had just, gotten a little bit disinterested in it at the time because I was starting to like make beats and rap all the time too. One of my bigger regrets actually, because like I feel like now, had I stayed in more like technical music lessons, my skill set would just be even wider. But also it's never too late. So
That's true. Never too late. I appreciate that because I was going back, I was digging in the stream crates on one of your other projects that you did with Doc, and you both were kind of riffing on you having experience with the sax. And I always remember Doc Watson that his instrument was the sax, but I didn't know that was something that you messed around with as well.
Yeah. And then he played a solo on that song as well. That was real cool to do.
Yeah, that was dope. That was Bridging the Gap.
Bridge the Gap. Yep.
I love that topic. I love that song off that Bonsai album.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So I guess my other question I wanted to bring up was you've collabed with Buck from Psychodrama. How did that go down? Because I think you've collabed with him a couple times now.
Yeah, we got two joints together. So I did an album about 3 years ago called Basilica,
Sure.
and I had a song I was working on called A Little Bit of Light, and I had I just had one verse on it, right? Didn't even really have a hook, just kind of it didn't feel like a song that needed a hook. And I was like, man, I want to get somebody on here that I know is just gonna like really be able to like match the content that I brought, but then do their own completely different take on it, right?
Yep.
And so Psychodrama, I've been listening to Psychodrama, I think since like I first heard Buck on Twista's Adrenaline Rush album, which like I think it dropped in 97. I probably heard it in like 98, 99.
Yes, sir.
And so people, I think, like sleep on how technical he is. People think of Buck and the voice, right? And they think of Psychodrama and like street rap, even some pimp shit like Magic. But like, not only is he a super technical, skilled MC, there'll be these songs in there where he's dropping wisdom. Like, he got that deep voice, and it's almost like it's like a wise elder, giving advice at this point. And I was like, he'd be perfect on this. And people don't usually hear him rapping over like smooth, like Italian jazz soul samples, right? Like, shake it up a little bit. And so I reached out to him, we worked it out, and like, bro, like 1-2 day turnaround, something like that, perfect quality recording. I didn't have to ask for any revisions. And then so when I was working on Lead the Orchestra, which is a very it's almost it's like a compilation. It's different MCs over my beats, and I only rap one verse on Lead the Orchestra. I wanted to make sure I got Buck again, and once again hit him up. He did the verse real quick, and then I had always had a vision of putting Buck and Micah Nine on a song together. And it's crazy to see now. It's like my vision has been executed. So that's real dope, man.
Yeah, man. Buck's whole tone. You right about him being technical. He's surgical almost with it.
Yeah,
You think about the psychodrama days. You made me smile over there because like it's interesting. His delivery, him and Nuisance.
yeah,
They're like vinegar and oil, man. Pretty much. Buck is hard. Nuisance comes in with that raspy like voice.
yeah,
Salt. I mean, that whole psychodrama group. I mean, Buck is. I won't say. I say Buck is my favorite of that group. I like Nuisance too, but Buck is so surgical with it. It's
yeah.
almost like he's that guy watching the scene develop. And he drops his lyrics, and it's like, man, I didn't even know that the man over there had a gun. That's how Buck is. Buck is telling
Right,
the story.
right.
He's almost like an X-Man member if you think about it, the way he delivers the story.
Yeah, man. Like our favorite artists are like superheroes, right? Big personalities, but real down to earth dude, man. I had real good experience working with him. So yeah, happy that got on the record.
Nice, nice.
I appreciate you bringing that up, man. And you kind of like tipped your hand as far as like some of your production when you were
Mm,
breaking that down for us. So
mm.
like I love the production, bro. Like every time I hear Ronesh beat and I hear, your Ronesh calling card on it, it's like I know I'm in for experience. So like can you kind of talk us through like I guess some of your jazz influence like sound or like some of the things that you lean into when you're doing your production?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So like I'm pretty heavily like sample based. I do play stuff as well. I play some keys and stuff on some of my beats, but I really I really like to dig for sounds that are like thick and layered, or even find ones that are not, find ones that are like individual instruments and then stack them on top of each other. Like, even though I'm not traditionally composing music, like writing out every note, and I'm using some loops and chops, right? Like, I want it to still feel like composition where there is a build and release of energy. And then I just think back to like, records that moved me a lot over the years, where it was like I'm hearing a hip hop record, right? But it feels hip hop, or like a down tempo or trip hop record, but it gives me that same energy as like a being in like a smoky room hearing some ill jazz shit. Like I think about like the first time I heard John Coltrane, right? Like, I'm not trying to make music that sounds like John Coltrane. I don't have delusions of that level of greatness, and it's just a different genre, right? But like, I want to give people that same feeling in their bodies and their heads, right? Like, where it's kind of like it's almost like the music takes you out of your body. Um, and I'm probably not necessarily thinking about all that consciously when I'm making it. Like, I'm sitting there making the beats. I'm maybe just trying to like make something that sounds jammy and makes me nod my head at first, right? But then by the time I'm putting out a final album, right, a full project, build and release of energy is so important to me.
Can you that track One Day off the Basilica album? And
Yeah,
I listened to that I listened to that recently.
yeah,
What's the inspiration behind that One Day? Because I know Doc Watson does his thing on that track, and Mike Logic. I've seen him on other people's work.
yeah,
What's the inspiration behind that song? That song has it's layered. If you think about it, you got to listen to it a few times.
yeah.
Time I was driving listening to it, I didn't catch every day. And I listened to it again when I was like get ready to go to bed one night, and I'm like, wow, this is deep.
Mm. Word. Yeah, thank you for listening, man. So I had made that beat, and then my original intention was not to use it for my own project.
Mm-hmm.
I had sent it to Mike Logic, and he wrote that hook right away and sent me back the hook.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was like it was going to be a Mike Logic song, but he just, for whatever reason, was not really feeling particularly inspired to write like verses around that concept. But I was really feeling that hook where he's like, "I'm gonna get it right one day." Like it's such a relatable emotion, right? And that like we have all probably experienced. Like, man, I'm fucking up. Like, but like I'm not giving up. Like, like um and I think by the time I was working on that record, I was fortunate enough to be at a place in my life where I was like, man, I made it through some shit, man. Like I'm I'm solid, and like I tried to take kind of a nostalgic look on some tougher times in my life and talk about like think back to how I was feeling in those moments and just like sort of talk through my journey. And I didn't really have a full song to write about that necessarily. Um, and so I had hit up Doc because I really wanted him to be on that album too. And he understood the assignment, man. Like, what else can I say? Like, he said, like, he starts out his verse and said something about like, I made a promise to my father. I don't remember the next line, but you just right away he's speaking from the heart, man. I love Doc Watson because he's going to be vulnerable, he's going to be honest, and he's going to, never slack on just rhyming his ass off. So it's a fun song, man.
100%. Yeah, yeah. I think the narrative was something along the lines of like it was a note that was written down, and I think he was reflecting on that note. And then I know
Mm,
Doc Watson, like he lost his father, so he
yeah,
kind of, like tries to infuse that in a lot of his lyrics from time to
right.
time. But to draw an unnecessary connection here, right? So I was looking at you drop Basilica April 15th, 2021, which
Yeah,
again, dope ass album. We can definitely talk about that. But leading up to the current project, which dropped this month, one day later,
yeah,
April 16th,
yeah,
2024. So I don't know, man. That's dope. I mean,
yeah.
like, no back. I'm glad you brought that track up because to be honest, like that track too, that kind of hit me in a different time, right? Because like whenever I hear the Ronesh beats, I am taken to a different spot. Some of them smoky rooms Ronesh was talking about. But when I heard the one day track, like it hit me different, bro. I was like, man, yeah, you definitely accomplished that vision you were talking about in that song, Ronesh, for sure.
Word. Yeah, by the way, I like to drop projects in April. My birthday is actually April 15th. And so like, it's like, every time I'm like, man, this just been taking too long. I'm gonna get it out by my birthday though. I'm gonna get it out. And this year we just did the 16th because we wanted to drop on a Tuesday, like the old days. Um,
Love that.
but yeah, I've probably put out like 5 different projects around my birthday over the years. But
Nothing like having a little feet to the fire, get it
yeah,
right day. So look, man, like again, to fast forward to this current project, because like there's so many things I want to like pick apart, right?
yeah.
Some more of the collaborations for sure, but was this the first project you had on vinyl? Because I noticed that your vinyl sales kind of sold out for it on the pressing that you did for it.
Yeah, so it's actually the second.
Oh,
I
dope.
I had a group called Pacific Standard. It was my man Trevor Kelly doing the beats, and I was rapping on it.
Yeah.
And we put out an album called Timeless on vinyl about 9 years ago.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Big learning experience. I'm happy that we did it. I'm happy with how the music came out. I ended up with way more records than I actually needed. Like kind of overestimated the demand. Like, and so I have a couple boxes of records in my attic right now, 9 years later. But that, I did all on my own. I had no label, no backing. Like it was me and Trevor and made the music, and I basically handled the pressing of the records. This time around, I reached out to Filthy. I had already completed my album, and I hit on my man DK, who runs Filthy Records, and was like, "Look, like, um, I respect what you guys are doing, and I have friends who are who have put out projects on your label who have positive things to say about you. What you think of this album? Do you want to work together on it?" And he was down, and so he's kind of helped me with a lot of the logistics as far as just like shipping out the pre-orders and as well as promotional, materials, artwork, all that. Great dude, great label. Um, and I didn't realize how quickly we would run out. So that's dope. I'm hoping we might get another small like round of CDs in, maybe a few more vinyl, but we'll have to see.
Great. That's great. I just love that like insider story because like obviously a milestone in this current era is to definitely have, a wax out there. But
Yeah,
that
yeah,
definitely dope to hear that behind the scenes of like how you actually been on wax earlier and just kind of rethought about it differently this time. Um,
yeah,
like bro, like I definitely want to get to some of these cool tracks, but my other thought you just had me think about was like so it feels like you a go-getter, man. So obviously making the Buck collaboration happen, reaching out to Filthy Records, like has any of that sort of laid down the groundwork for you going out west? Because like since you kind of grew up here in the Midwest, I was kind of curious in your story and how you ended up in Cali.
yeah. So I moved to Cali to Oakland in like 2008,
Okay.
and at the time, I just was like, I got to get out of the Midwest, man. I can't do another winter. Like, I was around some situations that were just like not positive for my mental health, and I needed a change, right? And I had a homie who was in San Francisco and a couple others in Oakland, and they're like, yeah, just like come out, crash on the couch for a minute till you get sorted. And I ended up, finding a place in Oakland, and like at the time, bro, it was so much easier to just just do something like that, right? Like, I think my rent was like 500 a month, and I rented a room in a two-bedroom house with this other dude, and like it would probably be triple that now, you know.
Right.
I didn't even have like a job. I had like a few months of savings and like random temp jobs, and I mean, and so I don't actually live in California anymore. I'm in North Carolina now,
Oh, word.
since
Okay.
2 years ago. Yeah, but I love the Bay, man, and it definitely really helped shape that like hustle mentality. I mean, when you think about Bay Area hip hop, some of the first and biggest cats out of there are like Too Short and E40, and you hear these stories about them in 1985, 86, 87, literally selling tapes out the trunk, right? And I think it's sad to me how the cost of living in California has just become so
Man.
unmanageable. It's not good for art, it's not good for anyone who wants to take a non-traditional path. But I will say, like, the the pressure of being out there, it it shapes people into being innovative, right? Like people find a way in the Bay, and like that was always all very inspiring to me, and kind of just sat back and looked at how other people were moving, looked at like Hyro, like Hyro was on a major label in the beginning of their career, and then they got dropped or maybe left of their own volition, but
For sure.
did like one major label album, and then in like '97, when there was no like indie rap industry at the time, they're like, all right, we're gonna do this indie, and they sell out fucking shows around the world, man, without having to compromise. And so yeah, that combination of like authentic art and hustle, like that really exists in the Bay, and I hope that spirit stays alive, even with the challenges of like cost out there.
Man.
I mean, like I guess the influence out there. How did that influence, like you coming from the Midwest and going out there? Did your style? Did you get more of a laid back approach? Because even that remix with Navarro, the Navarro track, the remix on, you could see like your evolution from Basilica to Navarro. That's
Huh.
21 to 2023. It's like you got more laid back, but at the same time, your delivery when you spit on the track, your delivery got crisper. You got more direct. It's almost like your storytelling went to a different level. If you know what I mean.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I would say like every experience in life, I think like I try to use to learn and grow from, right? And so it's natural that as an artist, you want to continue to evolve and become the best version of yourself. I think when I was like a much younger man, I had this idea that I needed to be like the hardest rapper, right? Just like I was real into battle rap and like you know, crazy syllable schemes. I mean, I still love like crazy wordplay and technical rapping, but like I would say, the Bay was influential, but probably more so it was just maturity making me see like can't anybody be me like I am me. I don't need to be trying to do what Black Thought does. I can be inspired by it, right? I don't need to try to be doing what I don't know, Pharaoh Monch does, right? Like these dudes are like insane breath control, multi-layered writing, technical wizards, and like by all means, I'm inspired by how high they set the bar. But like I kind of after dropping more and more projects, I would listen back to them and realize which songs still resonated with me 5 years later and which didn't. And it was like the ones that I still rock with are more conversational. It's more like it's kind of me talking to myself almost, me talking to my younger self, or my older self. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think yeah, life experiences and just maturity. I try to use those to just continue growing.
No, that makes sense. That evolution is a good thing. I mean, yeah, you definitely can see it. You definitely can feel it. And now you're in Carolina, so I mean, what's hip hop like in North Carolina right now? What's it like in that area?
You know, I haven't been really outside a whole lot. I moved here about a year and a half ago, and like, uh, I can't really say I have like built a lot of new relationships or really figured out what's going on in the scene. Just haven't had the chance. Just dad life, And I think like, um, we end up staying here a bit longer. I'm sure I'll get out and build with folks out here. But there are a few real good artists that I'm fans of out here. There's a guy named G Yamazawa. There's Elevator J is in Charlotte. Um, I met a cat named LD Beats, who's a really dope producer here in Durham, where I live. And then on a bigger scale, you have like J Cole, you have Rhapsody, you have Little Brother. So it's a pretty rich hip hop culture here in the state. I just can't say I have really been out there experiencing it a whole lot in person.
Right.
Um, but I think North Carolina is a cool place because it's definitely the South, but it also sort of has that mid-Atlantic East Coast energy as well. So it's sort of like a melting pot of Southern and Eastern styles, and that's always cool to me to hear.
Show the melting pots, the melting
Yeah.
pots. To take it a step back, because like you were just talking about hieroglyphics. I think Souls of Mischief is kind of touring around the Midwest this
Mm,
week, oh, like even this month. So
it's dope,
it's
man.
it's kind of dope to see them kind of still get their flowers, even
Shout
though.
out to Souls, man. When I was in the Bay, I opened up for A plus a couple times, and
Yeah,
yo, one of the coolest cats, man. Like, given all that they've accomplished, they could very easily be like on some like elite, like holier than thou kind of shit, right? Like, and they would be justified. A plus, man, he will like if he's headlining a show, he'll be in the front row watching the opening acts. He'll talk to you, like none of that like rapper ego at all. He's a fan of the music and he's a dope ass rapper and producer, man. So shout out to him and the whole Souls and High Road crew, man.
and that's stuff to hear. Yeah, A plus. I definitely rock with him. I
Yeah.
I was also thinking about, like, since I was reflecting with my other hip hop head, he was like saying, man, 93 to infinity, the source got it wrong, man. 3.5 mics, what were they thinking? But I'm not here to take down the source and their like
Yeah,
rent.
hindsight's 2020. Probably a higher rate for that, but yeah.
But yeah, bro, like you definitely have been bouncing around different timelines because it's when you're talking about what you were paying for rent in Cali, like it still bugs me out, right? Because it's like in the Midwest here or in Chicago, like the whole rent a two flat, rent one unit, rent a garden, but like you're talking about renting rooms in Cali and sometimes not even accessing other parts of the building, that type
Yeah,
stuff. Like
yeah,
that's a grind, man. That's a totally different grind.
yeah.
Um,
It was all when I got out there, it was already crazy in San Francisco, but then it was like if you were struggling or working class or even middle class, right? Oakland used to have plenty of spots, and then somewhere along the way, maybe like 2011, 12, everything went crazy, and everybody got pushed out of San Francisco into Oakland, and then just the pressure never stopped, man. And I think all around the country we're feeling it. Like
yeah.
I one of the reasons we came to North Carolina was for like cheaper cost of living, and it's cheaper than Cali, man. But like being here in the Durham Raleigh area, it's like I should have bought this house 5, 10 years ago, man. I'd be retiring early, but
True story. True story. So to hop back into lead the orchestra, definitely I wanted to ask about um Open Mike Eagle because he was a collaborator with some of the other guests that we've had, um,
yeah.
notably Video Dave. But
Shout out Video Dave.
curious, yeah, man, I'm curious how that track or that relationship kind of came about as well.
Yeah, so I actually, Open Mike Eagle is originally from Chicago as well. I didn't meet him back in Chicago, but I think he and I were cool from like a message board like 15 years ago. There was I don't maybe it was Hip Hop Infinity. No, philaflava.com. He used to post his music on this site, and you know, uh I ran into him at some shows maybe 15 years ago, and like we kept in touch here and there. He's always been a real cool dude. One of the good guys, man. I've been so happy to see him winning. Like, he had a TV show on Comedy Central for a while. Like, he's done he's done incredible things with his art. And I think remaining true to his core values and beliefs. And I think he's just like one of the best MCs alive, man. And so I've been trying to reach out to him for years now to get some work done. And sometimes we talked about doing something, sometimes he was just busy, but like I was able to get hold of him, and I had sent him the song with the first verse and the hook already on it from my man Napo, and he liked the song and blessed it. And then I hit up my boy Jack Harrier for a third verse on there, and I really feel like it came together like perfectly, man. That's why we chose that as the first single. Um, but yeah, shout out Open Mic. Like he's so funny. Like as an MC, like he can make serious content, but still have you like chuckling at his punchlines and the way he sets them up. It's really something that's lacking in a lot of music, and yeah, I really respect that.
Yeah, Mike is dope, man. Like I love that you said he's one of the best doing it because like I do feel like that gets overshadowed sometimes when you're talking about nostalgic hip hop or just rap in general. It's like it doesn't have to be about, like the mean mugging. You
Right,
can definitely like decompress and kind of like throw a little witty jab or
right,
from time to time.
yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely the master of that, and he's definitely true to who he is. So that's super dope that you got him on the project as well. Um, so Psalm 1, that was another one that kind of like took me back too. I was curious on that one, like how, because man, since you're a journeyman going going from the west and out into east, or more or less, like I guess you built all these different relationships along the way. It seems.
Yeah, yeah. Me and Psalm have connected at a bunch of different times in life. So we both went to college at U of I down in Champaign. she was already done by the time I started there, but I would like run into her, occasionally she'd come back and visit. And so I had met her through like, a mutual friend, and we were, cool, cordial. I can't say I was like tight with her, but then I moved to the Bay in '08, and I was just out at like a bar in San Francisco, and I was like, "Yo, that's just Psalm One chilling by the bar," and she was living in the Bay at the time. So that year we really connected and just hang out and party together, and did some music then, and then she ended up moving back to the Midwest shortly after, and but we've always stayed cool. I brought her back out to California for a show one time, and we've done a few songs over the years. I I think it's really cool how Psalm has taken charge of her own career and her destiny as an independent artist. If you know her story at all, like she was on a very large indie label and then did not have the most positive experience with them. She has written about it extensively. If y'all don't know the story, go buy Psalm One's book. It's called Her Word Is Bond. Fascinating story. Great person. Great artist. But the labels weren't fucking with her and treating her with like proper level of respect that a label should treat its artists with. And so she took everything into her own hands, and is doing it her way. And you love to see it. It's kind of a theme with folks that I got on this record, man. It's something when I'm reaching out to people, I think I have a propensity for like wanting to work with folks who are like go-getters and self-motivated, right? And have been through like through their own fire as musicians and artists, right? And because I think we find common ground on that. And when folks have been through things like that, through their own journeys and kind of like maybe had to deal with mistreatment in the industry and the business, tend to be folks who will take the art side of things very seriously because that's what we got left, right? Like if the like fuck the industry, that's not what this is about. This is about making art.
I mean, that drives the best creativity in that situation. Like you got to go through something in order to say something on the record at this point.
That's right.
Yeah, you mean like you're right. I mean, Psalm is pretty tight on this album.
Yeah.
I like Stick Figure on this album too. That track with Stick Figure is pretty nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. Stick Figure, I don't really know him. I've never met him. But he's just somebody I've been a fan of his music for a while, and like I thought he would sound really nice on that beat. I already had a verse from Navarro, and one of the things I was also setting out to achieve on this record is like creating collaborations between people who might not otherwise have them, right? Like, so we talked about the Buck and Micah 9-1. Navarro and Stick Figure, I don't know if they know each other or are familiar with each other, but like, they sound good together, man. I like Stick Figure. He's from Kansas, and, he really reps Topeka, Kansas. And like, whatever presumptions people might have about a place like that, he will, he throw that all out the window when you hear his music because it's a city, it's a Midwest city. And so I think his music is real relatable to me because just that Midwest common ground. Like I think we speak a similar language as far as the foundation of the music we grew up on. Um, so yeah, I was stoked to have him on the record.
Yeah, I realized he was out of Kansas, and I was like, wow. But the thing is, it's so the Midwest. You're right. It's so interesting because you hear his flow, and you're like, that could be Chicago, that could be
Yeah.
Detroit. You go up and down the Midwest, so he does have that vibe.
Right.
I was just gonna throw there because it was really nice to hear you break down the Psalm one story and
Mm.
like the relationship. So yeah, like I I remember like it was like maybe in the 90s when she was kind of like doing some independent like radio station like late hours like I remember in Chicago. Like it
Oh,
was dope.
that's dope.
She's been doing it for the culture like for quite some time. So it was
Yeah.
like to hear that y'all linked up. But you also made me think about something else because like when you're saying you like to collaborate with some folks that have been through some shit. Like I didn't want to skip over that
Yeah.
Bleak Americana album that you
Huh.
did. You only spit on one of the tracks.
I
That
got
was
I got two
oh,
verses on there. Yeah, I got
oh
two
yeah,
verses.
too. Okay. That
Yeah.
was a nice one though. That was definitely a mood setter right there. Like how did that collaboration come about? Because that's a dope album. I like that one.
Yeah, so D Lanham is the artist who's rapping on most of those tracks. He's from a place called Brunswick, Georgia. And so I've never met D Lanham in person, but I would tell you he's like one of my best friends. Like we've just become that tight through from doing music together for like 5, 6 years. We had connected on Twitter. I don't remember exactly how. I think, maybe a mutual friend was like, "Hey, like check out this dude's music, you'd like it." And one of us hit the other one up and started doing songs. So we did a couple EPs. We did one is called Icarus Rising, and the other one is called Life Prelude to Decay. And so all those songs are him rhyming on my beats. I love working with him because like he he knows exactly what pockets to find in my beats, right? Like I almost feel like how certain rapper producer pairings just work, like Snoop and Dre, like Killer Mike and LP, Nas and Primo, like that's just right away, barely knowing this dude, that's just the kind of chemistry we had, and so we become super tight. I produced that Bleak Americana album for him when he was going through some like real dark shit, like he gets real heavy on there. There's a song on there like Human 2 where he's talking about real heavy trauma, and I wouldn't really say it's a fun record, but I think it's a great record, and I enjoyed rapping on there a little bit too.
Yeah, that one was nice. That was nice. So I love that you kind of like were riffing on the duality in hip hop because
Mm,
that definitely hits me in my hip hop humble humble pie like core,
mm,
what I'm saying, like that little home cook hip hop like the pairings is where it's at. Like obviously, Outkast and Tribe, like the list goes
yeah,
on. But when you find that magic recipe, because I actually didn't realize it until you said it with the lead the orchestra that you sort of purposely tried to do at least more than one MC on every track there to kind of like almost envision a separate project for every track, it feels like, or like a separate.
yeah,
I mean, every track could be almost the start of an EP if you think about it. If you look at every song on lead orchestra, you could take every song and make that a title of the album. It's
mm,
that everything goes in pretty deep.
mm. Yeah, and I think like I mean I was very intentional in the beats I selected, and wanting them to have a particular feel and be cohesive. But I got to credit all the artists that like hopped on this album because like I wasn't telling people what to rap about, man. I might like if I had a song that's partially done, I might send it over with a reference hook and verse, and then the next artist would build off of it. But like, I had no expectations of what people would be talking about, and yet like somehow it felt like there are still common themes in the record, even without maybe Stick Figure hasn't heard the Open Mike Eagle song, or like Doc Watson hasn't heard the Tifa song, but like and I think maybe that's just where going back to like the kind of artists that I like to work with. I think maybe that despite being from all kinds of different backgrounds, generations, um, locations, there are common themes that get addressed in the music, like thoughtfulness, growth, like reflection on self as a person, reflection on one's place in the world, like so that was cool, man. How like I feel like there's not a track on the album where anyone's just bullshitting, just right, um,
Preach, Ronesh, preach. Thank you, thank you. Because like you also invoked Mike Logic's name because I know you collaborated with him a few times as well. But
Oh, yeah.
another guy in that camp is Ideal Raps, right?
Yeah.
So he's dope as well, being a native rapper. Like,
Yeah.
how did is it? Does that connection kind of flow through Doc Watson, or you just knew of them two?
Oh, nah, me and Ideal and Mike Logic, we go back to like childhood, bro. We all grew up in like the Des Plaines area and went to the same elementary school, middle school, high school. Um Ideal's a couple years older than me, but like yeah, we were like hooping 30 years ago. Like and then when we all started rhyming, like we'd be at Ideal's house in the garage just freestyling. Like I'm talking like this is like probably 1999, 2000. Like it's been a long, long time, and we still all work together. And that's one of the great joys in making music, man, is being able to do it with like when I'm able to make songs with my real life friends. Like that's beautiful.
Respect, respect. And I know we're sort of rounding out the hour here, and then obviously shout out to Throw MC because I think you had her on one of the tracks, not the new right, but like one of your former projects, I think.
She was on the Basilica album.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. That's Ideal's sister.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah,
They be wilding out on their podcast when
yeah.
they chopping it up.
Shout out Shy Native Radio. Yeah,
Yeah, man. Plenty of flowers for them. I guess my other thought too was like, thanks for the project. I'm
yeah.
loving it, obviously. But I'm wondering, are you purposely like through Filthier or whatnot, like not putting it on the streams at this point, or will it not? Or is it like a sort of a different move if it ever happens?
Right now, I prefer to just have it centered in one place. Like, I'm really happy with some of the attention we've received so far, being on this pod. We got a little write up on Bandcamp Daily last week, or Bandcamp Essential Releases. But I feel like I really still need to grow my core audience in order to get this project the proper attention it deserves. I think someday it'll be on streaming, but like, these motherfuckers at Spotify are now not even gonna pay you until you get 1,000 plays per month. So like, why should I give you my music? Like, um, and don't get me wrong, like I appreciate having like streaming can be dope too. Having the access to listen to all this shit, like couple clicks of your mouse, but like also if you cannot afford to buy the album, you can stream it on Bandcamp for free. So like by all means, I'm not mad at anybody doing that either. So I imagine it'll be on there eventually, but like right now go buy it. If you're listening to this podcast, ronesh.bandcamp.com, buy the album, and then send me a message and let me know that you heard about it on the HipPodHedz podcast, and I will send you another album for free. One of my older ones. You pick.
Nice. I totally get where you're coming from. The Spotify thing, it's crazy what you got to do just to get paid on Spotify, Apple Music. You
Yeah.
got to sell your soul, and then at that point, there's no soul left, and then they got your music. So
Right. It's like an exploitation of the fact that we all want people to hear us, right? Yeah, as a customer and a fan of music, I'm trying to think about ways that I could better support the artists I like too. And I mean, I still stream a lot, but I try to buy when I can. So,
right.
you know,
That's what's up, man. Yeah, like I literally was trying to like explain to my 12-year-old son like this week, like, these artists get cents like on these regular streams, Spotify and what have you. Like you got to figure out a way to support them. If you're not a Drizzy, you know what I'm saying? Like doing stuff out there. It's kind of wild though, right? Because like even as wild as Ye is when he goes off on his tangents, like he didn't want to drop the Vultures too because of that very reason, right? He basically says streaming is piracy.
so I didn't really keep up. Did he go like direct to customer or something or?
It's still in. stalemate right now, right, Novak? Like I don't think the second volume came out yet.
It's on stalemate because he realized that Vulture's Volume One, his streams went crazy, but he's like, I'm not making any money on this. He made money on the merchant. He made more money on merchandise than
Right.
he made on his music. So it's kind of like it takes away from creativity, and also it takes away from the ability to have everybody hear your sound because he had the stem player. People paid $100 to listen to the album.
Right.
And and then that relationship dissolved. Kanye did Kanye stuff. The relationship went away, and then he had to go back. He had to retreat back to Apple Music and Spotify, and you could tell that they were like, "Come here, we got you again." At this point, but I do, Ronesh, I look at it like, man, creating that platform, and I think Bandcamp is also for that platform because you saw what the vinyl did at this point. You put
Right.
the same vinyl on Spotify, you got to share with Spotify at that point for selling vinyl pretty
Right.
much inside your artist page. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think like, a lot of these bigger artists with a big who already have their big fan base, right? If they are no longer like beholden to record contracts, there's a big room for them to just sell directly to their supporters. Like, bro, like imagine if like Beyonce was just like, yo, I'm doing a vinyl drop, like 10,000 copies. I mean, I don't know, maybe something like that, right? Like it's just chump change to somebody who's a billionaire. Okay, so maybe Beyonce is not the right example, right? But like you think about like Nipsey, rest in peace. Like Nipsey had fans that were so loyal that they were paying $100 for a CD happily, you know. Um, so I think like whoever is able to be innovative and find new ways, there's going to be success for them.
Right. Evolution, man.
Yeah,
Evolution is everything.
indeed.
For sure, for sure. So yeah, man. So definitely buy the project Ronesh was talking about. He'll send you a little goodie bag even before Christmas.
That's right.
But yeah, man, like I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate you doing your thing. I definitely am always excited when I hear a Ronesh beat because yeah, you
Uh,
definitely take me to some of those smoky rooms you're talking about.
uh.
I guess just like thinking, let me ride out for some final thoughts. Like, what has been your process for like when you're doing live performances? Because when you said like you were like opening for A plus or doing other live shows, like I never imagined what that would look like as far as like you being a producer MC, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess when I talk about those, it was more at a time when I was rapping a lot more. I mean, I was
Yeah,
producing some of my own beats too, but it was more
right.
of a traditional, just like go out there, me either with a DJ or solo, and just rock the mic.
Yes, sir.
Um, I have done beat sets too. I use like a Ableton, I use Ableton and a APC 40 controller.
Nope.
Um, and so I like doing those. I'm thinking about trying to switch to a different controller that's just not so fucking big. It's like annoying to bring everywhere, and I don't really use that many of the features on it.
Right.
Um, yeah, I enjoy playing beat sets too. Sometimes they can be real fun in like either just playing the beats or like in a room where it's more of like an open mic with different cats
Yeah.
freestyle and stuff. So hopefully get out there and do some of that too.
No, I love that. Yeah, you're scratching some of the itches of I was hanging out with this my guy in Florida who actually used to like be in the DJ scene for quite some bit, right? Quite
Mm.
some time. And then every now and then we'll go to a local hip hop show and it'll be more indie cats, which is cool. And then his biggest quibble, he was like, there's no DJ doing anything between the sets, like between the acts. What's going down? So it's
Yeah,
kind of like interesting. You hear you say something about like, like holding down a beat session and things like
yeah, yeah. You don't want that dead air, man. It messes up.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thanks again for chopping up with us, giving us a little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Thank y'all for having me on here. It's a lot of fun chatting with you.
I appreciate it big time.
yeah, was there any other things you wanted to shout out besides obviously the Lead the Orchestra album?
Um, nah, that's it. That's all we directing folks to right now. That's what you need to check out with the orchestra. Shout out my daughter and my wife and my dog. And yeah, peace.
That's love. That's love. I respect that. Yeah, no bet. You want to close us out, man?
Yeah, definitely want to thank Ronesh for coming on the show, man. Appreciate you, man. Lead the Orchestra is awesome. Definitely, everybody go check that out at ronesh.bandcamp.com. Check it out. Look at his other work. He gonna reprint that vinyl for us, hopefully. I want a copy of his Lead the Orchestra, but definitely check us out everywhere. You got podcasts. Check us out on Apple's, Spotify, everywhere. Definitely go out and listen to something dope today. Definitely go out and check out Lead the Orchestra. Peace.
All right. See if I can get this one. Yo. The streets of Elgin was watching him. Him and his twin. Broke black, same story told again and again. Grew up fast, only 16, losing his pops. Couldn't think back to a time his father's movement had stopped. Pop had hustled to provide and hit the road gigging. Mom had a dozen kids and all of them had provisions. Kid grew up and tried to rock, but he had no rhythm. Dropped out of high school, had no job and no vision. Copped a job at KFC, but it was no living. Then he messed around and quick tore up the whole kitchen. Stepped to trade school, then he found his soul's mission, bringing happiness to all with his composed dishes. Blessed enough to find a passion that fulfilled his life. And yo, this cat was lucky. Check this out, one random night, New Year's Eve, he crashed his spot. And then he spied a girl he one day asked to be his wife. And then she'd be for life. Father the Son taught him how it was done. Father the Son taught him how it was done. Father the Son taught him how it was done. Father the Son taught him how it was done. Settled down and had a daughter, he's a father of one. When his little girl was 4 years old, he fathered a son. Promised that he'd never do the things his father had done. Loved his kids above his life and didn't bother to front. Moved to Evanston and made it home, living the dream. Worked each day to bring the bacon home, literally. Hustled hard and kept the lights on. Slept through most of the day, most of his nights gone. Didn't see the fam as often, but he had to work. And he was faithful to his wife, but he just had to flirt. Charming devil at the ready with the laugh, a smirk. The brother only really ever had a happy heart. Time slipping away, how many summers passed? Yeah, he went through some drama, but that's another track. Then in 1999, his daughter had a son. And he smiled as an enduring legacy had sprung. Father the Son taught him how it was done. Father the Son taught him how it was done. Father the Son taught him how it was done. Father the Son taught him how it was done. Died 6 weeks before my wedding day. No forgetting you, I think about you every day. Carry you in my middle name, check the legacy. Think about you every time I cook up anything. I'm also just as dedicated to my inner circle. Pretty stubborn and I haven't figured out how to work slow. I'm devoted to my wife, but I'm a little flirt. Some people say they see you in me when they see me smirk. I know you were proud of the man that I am. I also know that you were my biggest fan. I'm grateful for that year we got to be a team. I'm proud I got to help a man support his dream. I miss casino trips and chilling up late. Shooting pool and stressing about slinging lunch plates. Rest easy, Pops, I'll see you on the other plane. Henry Rayfield, that was his name. Love you, Pops.
Thank you for listening to the HipPodHedz podcast. A podcast where no Vac and no Sage discuss their hip-hop inspired moments. Share, like, subs, comment to the show on YouTube and Spotify. Go out and listen to something dope today.